Smoke inhalation was the only person hurt. A Bucks County cemetery, blamed for losing the body of a woman, is now being accused of losing a second set of remains. And so a second family is now demanding to have their loved one unearthed. Action News investigative reporter Wendy Saltzman has been looking into these grave errors and joins us with new developments. Wendy?
Jim, so many people stopped to ask me, where is Mary Patashaw, after a gravedigger told the family he was going to open buried caskets to find her body. We're happy to report Patashaw has now been found, but Action News has received other complaints, including one family that says their son is lost, buried somewhere in an unmarked grave.
One thing about a mother, you remember the day that you had that baby, and you remember the day that baby leaves you.
This mother says she could never forget the night her son was gunned down on the streets of Philadelphia, or the day he was laid to rest.
I only got 3 kids, and he was my youngest.
Janice Littles Brown buried 34-year-old Aaron Walker at Whitechapel Memorial Park, but when she went back to check on his gravestone, she stood by in horror as she was directed to what she says was the wrong plot.
So I looked down at the grave. I said, that tombstone says John something. He started measuring with his feet. So I'm just standing there looking at it. I said, well, first of all, he's over here.
Brown says she has no doubt her son Aaron's body was lost among a slew of unmarked graves.
They say he's right in here.
And her heartbreak began all over again.
I hear about stuff like this, but I don't believe it. Not to me. This don't happen to me.
Brown first heard about the troubles at Whitechapel after Action News reported on the loss of Mary Patashaw's body last year.
But she's not here.
Patashaw's family provided Action News with audio recordings of the gravedigger, Maurice Clark, telling them he'd have to dig up graves to find the right body.
How many graves did you have to dig up to find Mary?
I'm going to call 911.
Patashaw's family says their mother's body was finally found, and after our report, she was reburied in her correct and final resting place.
If this can happen to me, it can happen to anybody.
Don't come up here with Channel 6 News, because this lady here, I showed her where her grave is at, and she's not sure about it.
I'm sure.
Maurice Clark approached us while we were interviewing Brown.
The grave was over here.
It's not. Well, show us then. Show us again.
Clark claims Aaron Walker's body is in the right spot.
Where was you buried at?
Right here. That's their father.
This is where they buried at, over this side.
No.
But Naseel Small says he knows the exact spot because he stood in the grave as they buried his father.
I was deep in there. I was holding his head like right in the center of there.
Off my property before I break your camera.
Maurice Clark called the cops. He insisted to police that Walker is buried in the area that he showed the family, not the area they claim, which is for burials from last year. Police advise this is most likely a civil matter.
I can't do this.
In tears, Brown says no matter what, she won't give up until her son can rest in peace.
And I'm not going to be satisfied. I have to know that's my son that I'm putting a tombstone on. I have to know it's my child.
Brown is attempting to get a permit to dig up the area where the Feasterville Cemetery claims Aaron Walker is buried. And since this was a Muslim funeral, there is no casket. She plans to have the remains tested for DNA to confirm it is her son before she puts a tombstone on his grave.
Is there any oversight here other than those grave diggers who actually do the burying?
Well, part of the problem is because it's a piece of land, it's only overseen by the Real Estate Commission. So unfortunately, there's very little oversight of these kinds of issues in Pennsylvania.